So it's one thing to have the equipment and to go through the process of making sure that MIL standard 130 label is passing all of the grade and quality checks. But now we're going to make sure that the paperwork and the audit readiness is where it needs to be, such that if and when a DCMA auditor comes in, that you're prepared. So talk to me about what I'm looking at here in terms of these certifications and verification results.
Yeah, these are what I like to call the get out of jail free cards, Pete. You have an auditor come walking your place, they see the labels. Okay, I see your label. How do I know they're compliant? Well, this is what you want to show them. This right here is an example of an actual verification report. And the first key word I like to point out to everyone is in that upper left-hand corner, pass. This is telling you that the label has passed all of the requirements for IUID or Bill Standard 130. The next two lines down, you'll see it's the syntax and the mark quality. That's the verification and validation that we just spoke of. And it's telling you that both items have passed the standard. If you look towards the lower middle, where you see mark quality verification, it lists a number of different items, the overall grade, the cell contrast, and so on down the line. And you'll notice the letter A all the way through. This is about as perfect as you can get. This is telling the auditor you have the best possible result of an IUID compliant label. Now you could have some B's in there, that would also be passable. But here is a perfect example of what you're looking for, a passing grade of A with both verification and validation. The other key component that I'd like to show an auditor to really put them at ease, if you look down the very bottom, and that's the calibration of the unit. This shows that maintenance is being done to be sure that it's fully calibrated to give you those actual readings. Puts the auditor at ease, and that's what you want to do.
Good. Well, so there's another documentation that's associated from A2B tracking documentation for each label shipment we produce. So speak to the Certificate of Compliance, if you would, Dan.
Yeah, Certificate of Compliance. Let's say you want to outsource your labels. You're not doing this in-house and you're going with the vendor. If you were to go with A2B, this is what we would also provide you, where A2B tracking is giving you a certificate of compliance where we're putting in writing a certain quantity of UID labels were passed for verification and validation. We give the date. We mention the standard, MIL Standard 130 for verification and validation process. We also tell the auditor or tell our customer the type of verifier that we're using and when it was calibrated to give them the assurance that we're maintaining the equipment to maintain those standards. And towards the bottom, obviously the customer name, and we'll put a brief summation of the serial number range perhaps, the cage code that was provided, what type of label. In this case here was Tessa 6973, which is one of the more popular brand names of the polyacrylic material that we spoke of earlier. So if you have an auditor and you have a verification report that's in a pass status and you have a certificate of compliance, this is going to put that auditor or auditors at ease, knowing that not only do you have the labels, but you have the documentation backing up that those labels have met the quality standard. And another thing, if you are outsourcing your labels, you definitely want to be able to show them where you got the labels from. If that auditor sees that you don't have compliant software or a laser device or a thermal transfer printer along with the verifier, they're going to know you got those labels from somewhere. And these are not labels that you can walk into a Staples, buy a printer, and call it a day. The process needs to be full and complete. And this document, both the verification report and the certificate of conformance, does that.